Hello and welcome to another Warhammer 2v2 battle. Today we're playing on Wamp Rat Gulch. I had to Google what gulch meant. Apparently it's a deep, narrow ravine, especially one marking the course of a stream or a torrent. So here's the gulch right here. I'm going to show you. You like that sound effect? I did that just for you. And then what you'll find on this map is kind of cool if you're an artillery heavy faction because you have this huge wall in the back, right? So you don't have to worry so much about being attacked from the rear if you deploy sort of in this position right here. And this is where I was expecting our opponents to deploy. The other thing is you've got this river here, right? So large can push through the river, but small things, if they try and push through the river, they're going to get bogged down. So you have a natural defensive position if you set up right here. And then what you'll often see is, opponents will go wide sort of in this front line here. That's sort of what our opponents have done with a lot of spears. So I'm getting ahead of myself here. I haven't told you who's playing. So myself, I'm rocking Chaos. Normally I play Dark Elves because they're the best, my favorites. But instead we have Hugzy playing the Dark Elves today. And then on the far side, our opponents are PINKYWONKY playing Skaven and Kermitious playing the Wood Elves. So one minor comment before I get into the game. I just want to highlight, if you have Way Watchers are a skirmish unit. They tend to shoot and then retreat. And if you deploy them in this center pocket here and expect to retreat, like there's a wall behind you, so you're not going to have a lot of space. So maybe if you put them a little bit more towards the flank and fell back there, that it would work okay. So yeah. Initial army, I just want to highlight that I have Archaon the Everchosen and Exalted Heroes. All of these units have access to fire damage, as do the Swords of Chaos, so that's always a useful choice if you're going against Wood Elves. And my ally here, Hugzy, he's got 2 Witch Elves, a couple Black Ark Corsairs, some Bleak Swords, nothing too crazy there, a Death Hag. With regards to deployment, if it were me personally, I'd put the Bleak Swords out in front so they can use their shields to take some of that damage. And then the Black Ark Corsairs, usually they're best a little bit on the flanks. Because they have faster foot speed and no shield, so you don't want them taking the initial volleys of missile fire if you can. And then the Witch Elves. Personally, if it's me, I like to deploy them in the back line because they're very squishy, they have no armor, and they can, be used to pin things. Personally, I like to use them to just keep missile units online, like these Dark Shards, if they were getting pressured, or pin things in place to the Blackguard of Nagrand. But I guess Hugzy decided to deploy them a bit closer to the flank and asked me to protect them because, I guess he didn't want them getting shot up too quickly from the artillery. So our opponents, and Hugzy has Malekith on a dragon. Our opponents have Gracier of Plague and then Orion and standard stuff, Rat Ogres, a couple Plague Claw Catapults, which can be devastating against Dark Elf Infantry. And then there is 1 Warp Lightning Cannon. So Skaven went pretty heavy into the artillery. He's got 4 artillery pieces, which is bold. So we'll see if he can keep them online. Hugzy did do some tricky stuff over here. He's got 1 unit of Doomfire Warlocks vanguarded, and then there's another 2 units vanguarded over here of Dark Riders with shield. And our opponents, they've also Dark Rided 1 unit of Glade Riders on each of the flanks, and I guess they want us to basically take the bait and just distract us and pull us away from their artillery, but we're going to try and stay away from that. So with all that said, I'm going to hit play. We're going to rock right into this battle and see how things go. So initial movements here, armies are moving up. Malekith is taking an absolute beating from this Warp Lightning Cannon. I'm going to show you just on the early parts of this battle how much damage he takes from this Warp Lightning Cannon. If you take Malekith on a dragon, my recommendation is to make sure that they're moving right away. The other thing I would say is try and move your infantry up ASAP because the longer they're sitting there, the more time they're taking damage from artillery fire. Granted, Hugzy was busy with some backline play here. He's got the Slaanesh Harvesters here, the Doomfire Warlocks Regiment of Renown, and he's managed to find his way into some of the play called Catapult, which is a huge play for us. He's also dropped the Word of Pain on the Glade Riders with the Hedgebane tips, so that was a great play. Instead of chasing after them, he's basically debuffed their missile play so that the normally squishy Slaanesh Harvesters don't just get shot up right away, and he's able to harass these catapults, so he doesn't necessarily need to take them off you know, kill them completely. He just needs to prevent them from firing a little bit. And one thing, because of that, because of this charge that he got in, the play clock catapult was not active. Maybe it dropped its attack orders and they weren't reissued for a little while, so it wasn't firing right there. I promised I'd go back to Malkeith. Look at how much damage that Warp Lightning Cannon has done. Almost taken off half his health before the front lines have even met. So that's a very tough situation. Over here, Archaon the Everchosen and his 2 Exalted Heroes are going you know, toe-to-toe with these Firebark Elders. Very happy with that matchup because the Firebark Elders, for a little bit there, they were unsupported. They're a defensive anchor unit, and usually they're very hard to kill. If I were the Wood Elf player, I would have deployed them with my spears or shifted some of the spears over to help out with these Firebark Elders, because now that I'm able to isolate them, if I can take them off of the map really quickly, that's going to open up just so much room for the rest of my army to go to work here. Now, I do want to highlight there is a little bit of balling going on here, so not ideal to have, you know, 4 units in play all in the same area, because when these play call catapults do connect on their shots, they're going to be hitting tons of units. And look, right here, there was the Dreaded 13 spell. It comes down from Skaven with the support of the Grey Seer play, so that's going to do some massive damage, and there's a rear charge going in, which is definitely going to test the leadership of these Bleak Swords. Malkeith has found his way into the Warp Lightning Cannon and has managed to take them offline. He's taken a beating in the process. The Storm Vermin are inactive here. They should probably be sent over to go to work on these Witch Elves. I also have a unit of Forsaken, which are just kind of sticking around, checking things out. They will get active in a moment there, but definitely not optimal play by myself there. A couple of clan rats have been pulled off, chasing off those Doomfire Warlocks, so they're a little bit overextended. But I do have the Dragon Ogre going to work on the Rat Ogres now, and the Swords of Chaos, they're going to get into the action here soon. I've been busy just kind of cleaning up these remainder of the Firebark Elders, and Archaon the Everchosen is also going to work here. We've got Orion chucking some spears in the back here. He's managed to scare off the Chill of Sontar, who was helping to support the front line. The Eternal Guard are still in pretty good shape, but they're now matched up with some Chaos Warriors and some other units they don't want to be fighting. A key engagement right here is with the Plague Priest and the Blackguard of Negron. That's a super matchup for the Dark Elves to have him pinned in here. The Dark Shards are just regrouping, I guess, in the back line here. They're providing some support when they can. But look at this damage on the Grey Seer play. Absolutely getting munched on. So that was a huge pickup for us. And a really nice play there by Hugzy to get the Blackguard of Negron on to that Grey Seer of Plague. So I believe our opponent does notice that the Grey Seer of Plague has gotten very low. Or either that, oh no, he just flees and runs away. So luckily for him, he escapes to safety because I guess the Witch Elves were unable to pin him. Malkeith is so low here. He's taken damage from just all of the missile play from these various units. But fortunately, Malkeith brought along with him a Soul Stealer. So if you look, that's going down on the Storm Vermin with Halberds, and it's going to be just enough to keep him into the fight. Archaon the Everchosen has found his way onto a Waystalker and is able to take him out, and you'll see he's going to start rotating over here ASAP to get onto Orion. Now, I did bring with me a Dragon Ogre Shoggoth, and the reason for that is I wanted something with enough mass to just push through spears if needed to, and allow Archaon the Everchosen to get onto his targets, because Archaon the Everchosen is a fantastic duelist, but unless he's able to actually get onto his targets, then he's not very useful, and it's very easy for him to get, you know, just caught in a unit of spears. Oh, look at that absolutely massive swipe by Archaon. That was huge. So we do find our way onto Orion. Orion's going to take a beating here. Normally he's very resilient, and I tend not to try and focus him down, but Archaon the Everchosen with Slayer of Kings, Cascading Fire, Cloak, and Flaming Sword of Ruin, plus 2 Exalted Heroes and a Manticore are going to make short work of Orion, and they'll be able to burst him down basically before he's able to get all of those heals from Cloak of Aisha. So that's huge for us. Balance bar still very even. Both of our lords are very low. Archaon's getting shot up by Missile Fire here. Chaos Manticore is just rampaged. And Malkeith is down to, 600 health. So very close fight here. There is a center pocket that's still active for our opponents, but the problem is it's become separated now from their missile units, and it's, you know, all of their artillery has been basically taken offline, right? 1, 2, 3 units not firing. The only thing that's left is this warp lightning cannon, which I presume should be shooting in on Malkeith somewhere. I don't see him here yet. I did forget about this Feral Manticore in the background here, so I will eventually send him in to attack, but not there yet. A few inactive units here that are probably need to be pushed up, but at this point, we're starting to feel pretty good about ourselves. These small targets, the Exalted Hero with the Dragon Ogre, who causes terror, have been able to just push through these missile units without any resistance. And yeah, without any spears, without any wild riders, there's not too much concern here. Gracier of Plague is wavering now. So yeah, I'm gonna just hit the fast forward here, and you can see things are kind of turning decisively in our favor. The Swords of Chaos, I am not normally a huge fan of them because they are very, very expensive, but they do have a speed buff that I wanted to use, Apocalyptic Charge, and in a map where I wanted to reduce the amount of artillery fire I was taking before our front lines met, I think they might have had a bit of an niche. And they also helped me to sort of close distance on the Wood Elf archers. So yeah, all that to say, very, very fun game. And you know, I had a blast playing it, so thank you to Hugzy and my opponents. So quick run through of the army lists and how everything performed. I mean, Archaon and the Exalted Heroes were able to dumpster Orion, so very happy about that. The Dragon Ogre Shaggoth was huge because he allowed me to kind of plow through the Firebark Elder and get through, you know, all of the spearmen. I didn't want him fighting the spearmen, obviously, but he allowed me to kind of push them away so that Archaon could get onto the targets that he needed to get on. Forsaken did very, very well, as they tend to do against Wood Elf Spears and other sort of missile units, because they're fast and they just tear stuff up once they get into combat. I like having the option of the Chaos Feral Manticores. You'll notice I did use them in the backline quite a bit. Like, I didn't want to overly commit them because they're useful late game for the ability to cause terror, and you don't necessarily want them to rampage, you know, too early if you can avoid it. For Hugzy, very nice army there. He's got clearly a balanced army. The Repeater Bolthroy, I didn't really feature that. It was in the back. I suggested at the beginning of the game that maybe he'd just drop it because I knew that we were going to have to push against, you know, the shooting power of Skaven plus the Wood Elves combined. But, you know, maybe it didn't do so bad in the end. The Chill of Sontar was huge, just helping us push through. Malkeith on the Dragon, you know, he stayed alive, and that was the key thing there. He took out a couple artillery pieces, and with the Soul Stealer, you know, he did work. I think the Blackguard of Negron were the absolute heroes in this matchup for Hugzy because they took out the Plague Priest, and that just was such a huge advantage for us and really helped us tilt the balance of power in our favor. I don't think the Dark Shards are an optimal choice against Skaven and Wood Elves because you don't necessarily need all of that armor pen. They did help out with the Firebark Elder, so for that they were useful, but other than those units, there's not really a lot of units with very heavy armor that they would find as a good target. There's a couple units of Storm Vermin, but that's about it. So with Kermitious, you know, PINKYWONKY. I'm getting ahead of myself. So PINKYWONKY went with 5 artillery pieces. I think that's a little bit overkill. And his Gracier of Plague, I don't think it had the Clan Rat summon. It had the Dread of 13th spell, which allows you to summon the units of Storm Vermin. But if you are going to take 5 pieces of artillery, I think you need to go a little bit wider with the Clan Rat summons, and you know, maybe Poison Wind Globadiers, Death Globe Bombardiers, you can probably drop them just for some more Rat Ogres or Hell Pit Abomination, but that's a preference thing. And Kermitious, like I said, I think the Way Watchers could have been deployed a little bit more on the flank with some maybe cavalry support so that they would be able to kite a little bit more easily. The Firebark Elders, I think they need to be deployed with the spears. And the Waystalker, I mean, it was cool that they deployed the Waystalker next to the artillery because it had an item that or a characteristic that enabled it to buff the missile damage of those artillery pieces. So you're getting additional 10% value of those artillery pieces just by having him stand next to it, which I thought was kind of a cool, use of the Waystalker and the synergy between the armies that they were able to find. But yeah, I've rambled enough. Fun battle, and catch you around. Thanks. Bye.